In the heart of a bustling city, beneath the fire escape of an old apartment building, lived a cat named Sage. She was a tabby with fur the color of autumn leaves orange and brown and gold all mixed together, and eyes as green as summer grass. Sage had lived on the streets her whole life. She knew every alley, every warm grate, every dumpster with the best scraps. She knew which humans would shoo her away and which ones would leave out bowls of food. She was smart, careful, and above all, a survivor. But Sage had a secret. She was going to be a mother. As her belly grew rounder with each passing week, fear grew alongside it. She had seen what happened to street cats with kittens, how hard it was to keep them safe, how many didn't survive the cold nights or the dangers of the city. She had lost her own mother young and had no idea how to be one herself. Still, instinct drove her to prepare. She found a spot behind some old boxes in the corner of a parking garage, hidden from view but sheltered from rain. It wasn't much, but it was the best she could offer. On a cold March night, when the city was quiet and stars peeked through the light pollution, Sage's kittens were born. For tiny mewing creatures so small they fit in the palm of a human hand, so fragile that Sage was terrified to even move near them. There was a little orange one she thought of as Sunny, always squirming toward the warmth. A grey one she called Cloud, who mewed more softly than the others. A black kitten with white paws she named Socks, who seemed to already have an adventurous spirit. And the smallest a calico she thought of as Pepper, who nestled closest to her heart. For the first week, everything was perfect. Sage hunted and returned to nurse her babies, watching them grow stronger each day. Their eyes began to open, revealing blue that would later change color. Their tiny paws started to knead against her fur. She had never felt such fierce, overwhelming love. But then the weather turned. A late winter storm swept through the city, bringing freezing rain and bitter wind. The parking garage, once adequate shelter, became a trap of cold concrete and icy drafts. Sage curled her body around her kittens, trying to share every bit of warmth she possessed, but she could feel them shivering against her. Sunny, the strongest, seemed okay. Cloud and Socks huddled together, their small bodies trembling. But Pepper, the smallest, felt too cold, too still. Sage licked her desperately, trying to warm her, trying to will life and heat into her tiny daughter. As dawn broke, Sage made a decision that went against every instinct she had developed in her years on the street. She had always avoided humans, had learned they were unpredictable, sometimes cruel. But watching her kittens suffer, she realized something profound. She couldn't do this alone. Pride and independence meant nothing if her babies didn't survive. She knew of a human who worked in the building above the garage. A woman named Claire who wore bright scarves and always said good morning to Sage when they crossed paths. Who had once left out a can of tuna on a particularly cold night. It wasn't much, but it was something. With her heart pounding, Sage picked up Pepper the smallest, the one who needed help most, urgently, and carried her in her mouth. She climbed the stairs she normally avoided and sat outside Claire's apartment door. Then she did something she had never done before. She meowed loudly, desperately, again and again. Inside, Claire was getting ready for work, running late as usual. The meowing outside her door was persistent, urgent. When she finally opened it, she gasped. There sat Sage, whom she'd seen around the neighborhood for years, holding a tiny kitten and looking up at her with eyes full of pleading. "Oh my God," Claire whispered, kneeling down. Are you asking for help?" Sage placed Pepper gently on the ground and meowed again, then looked back toward the stairwell, then back at Claire. The message was clear. Asterisk, there are more. Please. Asterisk, Claire grabbed a blanket and followed Sage down to the garage. When she saw the nest with 3 more shivering kittens, her eyes filled with tears. "You brave, brave girl," she said softly. "You did the right thing." Within an hour, Sage and all 4 kittens were in Claire's warm apartment, nestled in a box lined with soft towels. Claire had called in sick to work and was now on the phone with a local animal rescue, her voice shaking with emotion as she explained the situation. "The mother cat brought me to them," she kept saying. "She literally asked for help. I've never seen anything like it." The rescue coordinator, a woman named Maria, who had been doing this work for 20 years, arrived within the hour. She examined each kitten carefully while Sage watched anxiously from nearby. "They're all going to be okay," Maria said finally, and Sage didn't understand the words but heard the gentleness in the tone. "Pepper is a little weak, but with warmth and food, she'll pull through. You got them help just in time." But then Maria said something that made Claire's face fall. "Of course, we'll need to take them to the shelter. We can provide medical care there, get them all spayed and neutered when they're old enough, and find them homes." "What about Sage?" Claire asked. "The mother. We'll take her too, get her fixed so this doesn't happen again, and try to find her a home." Though adult street cats often don't adapt well to indoor life, she might end up in our long-term sanctuary program. Claire looked at Sage, who was curled protectively around her kittens, finally relaxed now that they were warm and safe. Something in her chest tightened. "What if," Claire started, then paused. "What if I kept them? Just until the kittens are weaned. I can foster them here, and you can provide the medical support." Maria smiled. "That would be wonderful. But it's a big commitment, 6 to 8 weeks of round-the-clock care." Claire looked around her small apartment. She lived alone, worked long hours, had no experience with cats beyond occasionally petting them. It was absolutely impractical. "I'll do it," she said. The next 2 months transformed Claire's life completely. She learned to supplement, feed Pepper, who needed extra nutrition. She learned the different sounds each kitten made and what they needed. She set up a bigger space as they grew and became more active, watching as they discovered how to pounce and play. Sage, for her part, was an excellent mother. But more than that, she began to trust. At first, she would tense when Claire approached, but gradually she started to relax, to purr when petted, to even seek out Claire's company when the kittens were sleeping. One night, about 3 weeks in, Claire woke to find Sage had left the kitten's box and jumped up onto her bed, curling up near her feet. It was a gesture of complete trust that made Claire cry into her pillow with joy. The kittens grew quickly. Sunny lived up to his name, becoming a bold, confident orange tabby who was first to try everything. Cloud was gentle and sweet, preferring quiet cuddles. Socks was indeed the adventurer, constantly getting into trouble and making Claire laugh. And Pepper, the smallest who had worried Sage so much, grew into a beautiful, spirited calico who seemed to have extra life in her to make up for her fragile start. As the 8-week mark approached, Claire knew she had to face reality. The kittens needed to be adopted, and Sage needed to be spayed, and what returned to the street. Sent to a sanctuary. The thought made Claire's stomach hurt. The night before Maria was scheduled to come assess the kittens for adoption, Claire sat on the floor surrounded by her little family. Sage was grooming Cloud while Sunny pounced on Claire's shoelaces. Socks was attempting to climb the curtains again, and Pepper was purring in Claire's lap. "I can't let you go," Claire whispered. "Any of you." The next morning, when Maria arrived, Claire met her at the door with a nervous smile. "So," Maria said, looking around at the happy chaos of cats everywhere, "how has it been?" "Exhausting. Expensive. My apartment is destroyed. I haven't slept through the night in 2 months," Claire said. Then her smile widened. "And it's been the best 2 months of my life, Maria. I want to adopt them, all of them." Maria's eyebrows shot up. "All 5 cats. Is that crazy?" "It's crazy, isn't it?" "It's definitely unusual," Maria admitted. Then she smiled. "But I've been doing this a long time, and I can tell when it's right. This is right." You saved each other. The paperwork was completed. Sage and all 4 kittens were officially Claire's family. But Claire did something else too. She started volunteering with Maria's rescue organization, using her experience to help other people foster cats in need. She became a voice for the scared street cats, the pregnant mothers, the ones who needed a chance. Sage taught me something Claire would tell other potential fosters. She taught me that asking for help isn't weakness, it's the bravest thing you can do. She trusted me with her most precious treasures, and in return, she gave me a family I didn't even know I needed. A year later, Claire's apartment was still chaotic. Sunny had claimed the windowsill as his throne. Cloud preferred the bookshelf. Socks had finally mastered climbing everything, including Claire. Pepper ruled the bed, and Sage. Sage spent her days moving between her children and her human, purring contentedly. No longer a street cat, but a beloved mother and companion. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, Sage would sit by the window and look out at the city she once called home. Claire would stroke her fur and wonder what she was thinking. The truth was, Sage was thinking about that freezing night when she'd made the hardest decision of her life: to trust, to hope, to believe that the world might hold kindness. She was thinking about how fear had almost kept her from asking for help, and how love had given her the courage to try. And she was thinking that every single day in this warm apartment surrounded by her healthy, happy kittens, and the human who had saved them all, was proof that sometimes the scary thing and the right thing are exactly the same. Outside, the city hummed with life. But inside, there was peace, there was family, there was home. And for a cat who had lived her whole life on the streets, there was finally, beautifully, everything.